but it's kind of frankness stuff. Yeah.
And I'm not supposed to stand in the projector light. That was feedback as well. So I'm supposed to stay over here. So thank y'all. We had a bunch of people fill out a survey, and we got a lot of good feedback. There was some thoughts for the people streaming that we needed better lighting, so we got a couple lights up here to try to help light it up better. We were asked not to do that because that looks bad. And then the microphone. We're working on getting a couple microphones. I know everybody hates the microphones, but it helps with. I hate them, I guess. But it helps with the people watching or watching live, or we're doing it later. So anyway, I thought this was probably the nerdiest thing I've ever seen, but I loved it. So
Not on music.
put a fresh battery in it, and boom, here we go. What's that? It's the Sham Wow. Coming to you. All right. So anybody ever heard of a guy named John Ruhlin? There's a book called Giftology. We're going to talk about it a little bit today. A couple of you have. All right, so John Ruhlin said this. He said, how you do anything is how you do everything. It was a good reminder that one, I think people watch you all the time in all aspects of your working relationships with people, and it's hard to just kind of be a slack half the time and then be professional half the time. You got to be yourself the whole time. So anyway, we're going to talk a little bit about that here in a few minutes. But some of the feedback was funny. We actually got some really valuable feedback, but some of the feedback was when one of the questions was the most favorite parts. Thank you. That's all good. Least favorite parts. So Hunter got some props in his politics and news section, and then some people's least favorite parts were So bottom line is, we're not going to please everybody, but we're going to try to mix it up and keep it lively and active and informative. But for those of you who filled out that, I think it only took about 5 minutes or so, but thank you. It was helpful and valuable, and we've already got some good ideas of how to incorporate some of that stuff in the new year. So thanks for doing that. So I am grateful this morning. Windy Monday, where we are, took me over to have breakfast with the mayor this morning, which is pretty cool. I didn't wear this, but there were a few hundred people in the room. But it was a National Business Journal breakfast, and we learned a lot about the city in terms of what kind of condition the city is in right now, in from a financial perspective. It was actually a little surprising, not in a very positive way, but the city's not in really great financial situation, which is crazy when you see, and he posted pictures of cranes. He's like, people see all this development and growth, and you think, why is the city broke? But there's a lot of reasons. Some of it has to do with, most of it has to do with debt obligations, and a lot of the current cash crisis has to do with the property tax reappraisal. So there's a thing called equalization, and I'm not going to get into it right now, but if you want to Google it or research it. So does anybody have property taxes that went down last year? I did. Mine actually went down a little bit. So some parts of the city, in typically more established neighborhoods that didn't actually appreciate as much, the average appreciation rate was 37% over 4 years. So if your average appreciation rate was actually less than 37%, based on the assessor's interpretation of that, your taxes went down. Metro can't, there's a law saying they can't raise more money from a property tax assessment, with the exception of certain new projects and things like that. So the only way to do that is with a tax rate increase. But that has to be voted on by elected politicians in Metro Council, and that's usually not a very popular thing to vote on. So anyway, food for thought there. But what else are y'all grateful for today? Anybody have anything? Christmas party. Christmas party. Give me straight microphones. Hunter? Scott, come parade that thing.
Everyone's
That
grateful
little
for
chunky
the
little puppy.
I'm grateful for the bag.
Should take her out. So nobody can talk about this. This is a surprise for his children. Yes.
This is Callie. She's a mini golden doodle. She'll be 15 pounds. She's 9 weeks old right now. So she's a surprise for the girls on Christmas Day. So
Tell us about Callie's bag.
Scott has a new man bag. Awesome. Any other gratitudes?
I'm grateful to be selling real estate in a city that's appreciated 37%.
Grateful to sell.
And I'm grateful that I don't have to wear a purse around.
For those who didn't hear, he's great. There's nothing but push for the dog. Well played. Anybody else? Cool. All right. A couple education events we got. So there's a after this, Metro Coach is going to come. There's a guy named Bill Herbert. Herbert? Did I get that right? Yeah. Who's coming at? He's going to arrive between 10:15 and 10:30. We'll get started. I've heard people have told me that he's a great speaker. He's got a lot of really valuable information. So I would encourage anybody who wants to learn a little bit more about Metro Coach to stay for that. And then there's a business planning workshop tomorrow at 9 and another one at 11. And I guess that was the Pro Bowl at 11 and then the collaborative at 9. So if you still need some business planning help, we're going to do that tomorrow from 9 and 11. The 11 one is probably for teams, I would think. Is that, Colin, is that right? Or is that?
She just said that she was going to have two separate workshops, did not indicate that the later one was going to be exclusively for teams and be for anybody.
Perfect. So 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock, so show up. Jumpstart is Thursday and Friday this week. And then last sales meeting of the year, next week, next Tuesday, and then there's a Franklin sales meeting as well on Wednesday. Offices are going to be closed Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and then short day on New Year's Eve, and then obviously closed on New Year's Day. So, any questions on that? Seth, what do you got?
Yeah, Zach, on those workshop plans tomorrow, are those the same thing, or you get both of those?
That's a good question. I think
It's supposed to be the same.
I think they're the same thing. I think it's a repeat.
Thank you.
It's a repeat. Cool. All right, Hunter, what you got? Look at Hunter's family on what is that?
Party bus.
Oh, so that was the thing that the mayor talked about, transportainment? Is that the word he used? Transportainment. It's like, all the buses, the tractors, and the things that,
Hunter, did you sanitize that pole before you let your kids touch it?
you want to wear the British microphone? Fix that too.
All right, so yes, my kids are no longer that cute. They're grown adults almost. All right, so we got the holiday party, December 19th. That's not this Thursday, but next Thursday. It's gonna be epic. Make your plans. All right, so anybody know who this is?
Stephen Wright?
Yes. Stephen Wright turned 63 over the weekend. He's a comedian.
Yes.
Like the deadpan, slow, lethargic voice comedian. And so some of his lines are, there's a fine line between fishing and just standing on the shore like an idiot. And then he said, I intend to live forever. So far, so good. And then my favorite is, if at first you don't succeed, then skydiving definitely isn't for you. Also, Carol Spinney, he passed away, he was 85, passed away over the weekend. He was Big Bird and Oscar the Grouch. So he grew up with Sesame Street. I mean, like, it debuted in 1969, and it was, TV was still coming into its own at that time, and people were concerned about, like, what's it doing to our kids, and so with research from the Children's Television Workshop, they came up with this program and mixed live humans with puppets and animation, and then it used advertising techniques to reach kids, and use like jingles and rhymes to teach children about alphabet and numbers, tie their shoes, brush their teeth, and so and then they had these characters like Big Bird, and he taught kids valuable lessons about cooperation, the best way to navigate complex issues. He's a really neat character, so I thought it was worth honoring him today before we get into the economics side. So, all right, we show this a lot, just where we are for the year to date. We are doing well in terms of the economy. These, the Dow and the S&P, they're metrics for how we're doing as a whole. Anybody know what BPS stands for? So basis points. So basis points are like, so if you say 100, something's 100 basis points, that's like 1%. So you can divide a percent into 100 basis points. If it's 50 basis points, it's half of 1%. So basically what that's saying is that the 10-year treasury is down 84.30 basis points. So rates have gone down year over year, which is a good thing for the economy. So we're in like the 10th year of our expansion, still going strong. We had like last week a kind of a rough early part of the week. And the big issue, remember, is like, are we going to get a deal done with China soon? And there's a December 15th deadline before some more tariffs go into place. And so the market got really worried about that, and then it rebounded strong late last week. Anybody remember why? Jobs report came out, and we added 266,000 jobs. We were only expected to add 180, so super strong jobs report. The jobless rate fell back to a 50-year low, 3.5%. Wages climbed 3.1%. So anyway, good news. Basically, even though we have some of that uncertainty going on internationally and some slowdown in manufacturing here locally, with good jobs report, people are thinking that we can just keep humming along. And I thought it would be good just to look back a little bit, just in terms of our economy. We're going to have, particularly over the next year, a lot of politicians, telling us what's wrong with our economy, and there is, a lot we can work on, a lot we can do better. But if you look at kind of where we've come from, this is everyone starting at the same spot in 1999. And the red line is the U.S. economy, GDP growth. So when someone says GDP growth, it is meaning like how's the overall economy doing. And the blue line is Europe, and the yellow line is Japan. So you see we've been doing really well over a long period of time. Since the Great Recession in 2008, the blue line is the U.S., and you can see kind of other, Germany is green, they're probably the next best, United Kingdom, but a lot of countries haven't even gotten back to where they were before the Great Recession started. So over 10 years, kind of another lost decade.
It's in China.
China, yeah, China's a little bit different just because it's not like this established. They're growing so fast as an emerging economy. So you throw them in there, they have had significant economic growth over that time. One reason people say we've been such a good economy is if you look at this is our tax to GDP ratio. So it's kind of how efficiently are we taxing our country. And you can see we're like number 4 here. The lower is kind of better or more efficient, I guess. The average is right in here. And then you can see a lot of those slower growing countries we saw in previous slides are kind of on that high end. So it's just something to keep in mind. This isn't the tax rate per se. It's just kind of about how efficiently are we taxing. You take your GDP, your taxes, and you divide it by your GDP to come up with that number. So just worth keeping in mind. Looking at the local or the housing market, positive signs. So we got low interest rates, a shortage. There's just not a ton of new for sale supply going on. We still got people looking for housing, so that's helping. An absence of over speculation like we had in 2007 and 8. House flipping's not a huge problem. No doc loans are non-existent now, so that's good. And then also, this came out this week, a report that the number of homes that are in a bidding war is down 19% over year to year. So not necessarily like positive for price increases, but probably an easier market to navigate for our buyers and sellers. basically the supply and demand data is still saying that it's a seller's market, but home buyers in most markets are feeling and acting like they're in control. Most of the homes that they are seeing are simply not worth getting into a bidding war over, so they are more than willing to wait until the new year to see what new homes will hit the market. And the lowest kind of the markets with the least bidding wars are Houston, Miami, and Raleigh. So I thought that was interesting. And then finally, kind of wrap things up, we got a couple of announcements last week. So this area here is the Edge Hill area, with this street being Edge Hill, and you can see Franklin Road kind of bordering on that end. This is the reservoir. So this kind of R-shaped acreage, it is 23 acres, and it was approved for a mix of affordable housing, hotel, retail, pharmacy, grocery. So it's a big piece. They're looking to add like 1,200 units. So it'll really transform this area. You know, you got 12th will be running kind of right here. This is Carter Lawrence Magnet School. So that's the area. So just to be aware of, there's going to be a lot of change going on in that area. If you see, you know, values in and around here, just knowing that that's coming is a good thing.
They're planning on narrowing that road.
Which road?
Is that 8th that runs through?
So no, 8 is over
It's
here.
over there, okay.
14, yeah.
Okay.
There was something a couple years ago where they were gonna narrow 8 to 1 lane each way.
And put a divider.
That would have been, I mean,
That's
a
good.
lot of the business community came out and said, like, you're gonna crush us and do that. So yeah, so this is just kind of this middle section between 12 and 8. And then kind of in, not too far from there, this is again 8th Avenue coming into the roundabout, and this is like the Music City Center, and Broadway's up here, turns into Rosa Parks. So it's this area, and kind of get your perspective again. 8th Avenue is coming in this way, and you can see the Music City Center over here. So we're looking at it from like the west end. And this site here just sold, I mean, just tiny site. Who wants to give me a number? What did it sell for? 8 million? 23, someone said?
No.
27 million. Yeah. So it is, what's going on there? It is going to be 1 million square feet of office space, 500 and 500 apartments, and some retail at the bottom. I think it also includes this little gallery here, so a little bigger. Anyway, a lot going on. Kind of, this is all coming out of downtown on the south side of town towards us. So just be aware. And this, like, I don't expect this to break ground tomorrow. I think the first one I told you about is going to happen sooner. You'll start seeing activity there sooner. This one still has, I mean, that's a huge project going. And then finally, how about our Titans? Yes. So it's not normal we can talk about the Titans this late into the season. But we're on a 4-game win streak. We got the Texans at home Sunday. Be ready?
We got the Texans too over the next 3 years.
All right. Connie, Roger, you want to talk about rates for a minute? So I made a mistake last week, and Connie's going to correct it. We talked about, I said the FHA loan limit increased. I meant to say the Fannie Mae loan limit increased. Whoa. What was it? Big differences. Sorry. So I told Connie, next time you hear me do that, literally just yell. She's going to do it.
We were quick to correct it. Okay, as far as rates, the interest rate is about the same, 3.875. Last week it actually took a little bit of a dip to 3.75, but we're back up to 3.875. And then as far as the loan limits, like Zach had said, it's the conforming loan limits have increased to most of Tennessee is 510, 400, but in Davidson, Williamson, and the surrounding areas, it's gone up to 563, 500, which is awesome. And basically what that means for you is that your buyers can put down as little as 5% and do a conforming loan, and they're not in that jumbo loan anymore. So that really makes a huge impact as far as just, the guidelines for jumbo are more restricted, and it allows your buyer to buy up to like $595 and put as little as 5% down on conforming. And then as far as the FHA, Roger's gonna talk about it.
You were just ahead of the game. As of yesterday, FHA announced, as expected, that they followed up with the conventional loan limits. So now FHA follows the high conforming, or what we call super conforming high balance. So they'll do 563.5, and that's for the whole MSA. So I mean, you're going all the way up to like Camden County, you're doing Cheatham County, all of those areas are going to have the 563.5 loan limit. But what I want to point out, because I know a lot of y'all kind of have investors, people looking to build their wealth on a duplex. So if it's a 2-unit, FHA will now go to $721,400. The positives to that, unlike conventional on an FHA mortgage, they still only have to put 3.5% down. There is no rate increase, and they can still offset the rent from the other side. So I think that's probably a really big win in the area, looking at the prices of a lot of the duplexes going on.
If they're living in one side.
They have to always, on an FHA mortgage, you have to be an owner of it. So you just have to count the other side. And then the other thing, I think you're going to be seeing a little FHA come back, so I'd probably pay attention to these loan limits. Conventional rates, the DTI, the debt ratio, has really been tightening in about the last 4 to 5 weeks. So nationally, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have pulled back on the debt ratio. And you may have run into that with some of your buyers and sellers. I lost a contract. The buyer of the house we're doing, she got declined after her pre-approval 2 weeks before closing because the Fannie Mae and the Freddie Mac limits have tightened so much. FHA allows us to go a little bit higher. So Connie and I personally saved several deals by flipping into FHA during the process. So those FHA loan limits may become a little more important.
The only other thing on the FHA is there are still a lot of counties in Tennessee that have lower loan limits. So even though FHA has increased to 563, 500, there are counties like Hickman County, it's only 331. So just really be mindful of that. So if they're, if somebody's doing an FHA loan, make sure that you're looking at the county too. So Davidson, Williamson, Rutherford, Wilson, Sumner, all of those are 563, 500, but you get that outside of it and it can drop dramatically. All right, I think that's all I got.
So you're saying I got lucky.
Yeah.
You were ahead of the game.
Cool. All right, so yeah, just a little graph looking at the last 2 years, but some of you don't like the graphs, so we're going to move on. How's the market in Davidson County? These stats came out, so these are on the market on the VRES-market.com. You can download the square versions or the horizontal versions. You can send postcards with them. You can put them on social media. Average price is $393. This is also in the Greater National Realtors News. It's about 9.8% up. The days on market, Greater National Realtors said the days on market was somewhere in the 30-day range, and I'm confused as to where they got that, but because the data I pulled from RealTrax says 79. So, neither here nor there. Everything else is about similar, but inventory is...
You just wanted to tell us that you pulled the data
No. Actually, Caitlin did it. So, but I looked at it too, just to double check. After I saw that. So anyway, total properties for sale is down about 20%. And this is again month this year versus November this year versus November last year. So we have Williamson County sale price up to $615. So again, Davidson County almost $400. Williamson County is over $600,000. There's over a $200,000 delta between the two counties that are right next to each other. That's wild. That still blows my mind. You've got, we have it for Wilson County, almost a little over $350,000. And we also added Dixon County, Rutherford County, and we had a request for Sumner County. So y'all have all these at your disposal and fingertips. So who can commit to posting at least one of these today? Right? So how do you get there? How do you find it? VRES-market. I'll try to send an email recap, and I'll try to include them there as well. Sometimes the files adding too much stuff makes them too big, but that's where you can go. So again, just go under View as Market, social media, how's the market, click on one of those, and the little button says download the square, download the rectangle. So tools, anybody who uses Forewarn? Do y'all like it or not?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people like it. So we have an agent in here who used this. So what Forewarn is, for those of you who don't know, and I think most people know what it is, but it's a safety app, so you can do a background check on your clients based on a phone number or a name. You can see criminal histories, you can see address histories, vehicle histories, all sorts of stuff. And so if you get a phone call and somebody wants to meet you and you've never met them and they're asking you to meet at a property by yourself and it feels weird, one, trust your gut, but just look them up on this thing. We found some weirdos here and there.
Personal arrest on there.
My personal arrest is non-existent. So this is what you do. So you go and I was arrested for wearing too many microphones. So you click on, you log in, you can type a phone number. So well, we're going to find out actually. So that's my phone number. So my phone number shows up for 3 people: me, Scott, and Martha. So somewhere it shows our ages, and then it shows that I've got 6 phone records, 7 address histories, no criminal records, vehicle records, property records.
Seems a little nervous.
Costs a lot of money to get that stuff wiped out. But so all my addresses, some of Scott's addresses. So Scott and I are clearly like married in someone's book because my sister's address is there. But literally all the way back to the house I grew up in New Orleans was in there. Wow. One of my mom's houses is in there. I mean, it's who knows where all this stuff comes from, but it's a pretty extensive list. So all that being said, you can use Forewarn to help you be a safer, smarter agent, but you can also grow your business to create opportunities. So let's say you're looking for a buyer. Now, I'm going to just say as a disclaimer, if you're calling people, if you're cold calling people, please look up the do not call list. And I'm not an expert on that, but the fines are pretty severe for that. So if you want to send a letter to somebody, but we've had agents who have used this to do a name lookup, because you can do it by name as well, and just do a reverse lookup by somebody's name. So let's say you go in the tax records, you're like, all right, I've got somebody who wants that house, and I sent them a letter, I don't know how to reach them, I've knocked on their door, whatever, and I'm trying to represent my client. So you can look up their phone number, because most people don't have a phone in the phone book anymore. So you can do a reverse lookup and find, generally speaking, phone numbers. So we had somebody in here recently who just got a buyer a deal, at least one deal, using that. So really helpful tool to use. Any questions? If you need help downloading that, you can go see Kelly or Jeremy downstairs.
It's just an app.
It's just an app. And there's a website too, but the app's easy.
And it's really expensive for us to do the whole.
It is a very expensive item. So if you don't like it, if you don't want to use it, let us know. But if you're not using it, take advantage of it, because it's not cheap.
Get a login.
Yeah, so it's called Forewarn. You can get a login from Kelly downstairs, and should try that. All right, David Doris. So 1041 Flats, David brought us some Chick-fil-A. Thank you. Brian brought it.
Good job. Thank you. All right, one time my license expired, I didn't realize it, and I got pulled over anyway, so if everybody does a 4-1 on me. I wasn't driving without the license, it just expired. All right, so 1041 Flat, over here, was that feedback? So we brought Chick-fil-A this morning, wanted to just talk about it a little bit. We started selling these, 71 units in the building, 1 bedrooms and studios, starting at $150. We have about 20 of them under contract, so it's been a good start. And we can do hard hat tours now, so if you got clients that want to come out and see it, we can walk you through the building. It's at 1041 Trinity. Is the location, so right across from Grimey's, right there, and kind of developed all around it, so it feels really good. Amenities, Peloton Lounge, we're going to have an Amazon hub, every unit comes with a Nest thermostat, so plenty of parking, a ton of guest parking, which is unusual. A lot of times we have like 2 or 3 of those spots, but I think we have like 20. Anything else?
Talk about the location a little bit more.
Yeah, so it is right here at 1041 Trinity, right there, kind of right before Gallatin. The Edison is developed there on the corner, and then Vibe, Grant Hammond's deal is kind of back down from Grimey's. There's kind of all the stuff you can walk to. It's a great spot, and the price point is awesome.
How much are the one bedrooms?
Starting at 150,000. I think one bedrooms start right around 200.
Yeah.
And how many studios and how many one bedrooms?
It's a mix, about half and half.
Yeah.
What we've seen on the first 20 contracts have been mostly studios, so that's kind of interesting that the city's kind of ready for studios, it seems like.
And we do have 7 investor permits left, I think. So if you have an investor, that
When's
could-
the projected completion?
June, July.
What's the square footage of the studios?
490, and then there's some that are in the low 5s.
But you can see them now. I mean, like David said, we're doing hard hat tours. They're just before sheetrock stage. The 4th floor units you can see up here have some rooftop deck and some views of the city. The city's small from there, but you can see it.
The investor permits apply to any of the floor plans?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any like social media
What's the
stuff?
largest floor plan you have? Largest floor plan?
We do have a 2-bedroom, but there's just one. It's this corner up here.
Still available?
Still available.
You said like 1,000 feet or?
It's a little over. It's like 1,200 feet.
So we'll have some social media stuff that we can put on the V-Res market also for you guys to push out. $5,000 goes to contract, so it's a pretty easy process. Connie Eddy is helping us out for buyer loans and can offer some incentives and help out. She's been unbelievable with first-time buyer, and we're seeing a lot of that here at this price point, obviously. So thanks to Connie.
Is there a minimum deposit?
5,000.
5,000.
Yeah. So if you guys have any questions, let David or I know. We're happy to set up a time to meet you on site. We've got finishes here. Alyssa is also helping us out, and Ross, you guys know him, so any one of us can fill you guys in on details. So thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
Thanks.
we'll put a social media thing out for the investor questions.
Cool, thanks for Chick-fil-A. That's awesome. All right, we said this last week, so just a 10-second recap. If you have access to Trend Graphics, you can either get it on the V-Res market or there's a little shortcut, ZachGiger.net. And if you also, we can use the back-end admin side of Trend Graphics to get access to any list of any agents that you want that might be that's selling a particular area. So if you want to be able to pull a list from 37212 agents who bought buy side or list side between $600,000 and $800,000 in the last 18 months, you can do that. So just email Caitlin or marketing@lostn.com. You can get that list today. So that's a pretty cool little thing. A little tip of the week. So this is this book, and so I would encourage everybody to read this. So obviously this is a time for gifting. So I want to be careful because this guy says don't give gifts at the holidays. So I'm not saying scrap your plans, but I would encourage you and I challenge you to think about kind of your gifting strategy and really using gratitude as a competitive advantage. So it's a really easy read, but the Giftology, and I've heard him speak a couple times, and he's really great. He's a guy named John Ruhlin. One of the things he talks about is if you take care of the family, everything else in business takes care of itself. The way you make somebody feel with the act of gratitude is the gift, right? So the gift is important, but it's more about the end feeling, right? And so a lot of that has to do with how you personalize it. One of the biggest mistakes people make is to give somebody a gift, and it says, hey, here's a really nice thing. It has my name on it. You can wear it around town and advertise for me. It's great, right? So that's a dangerous gift to give. I've got a really nice sweatshirt that somebody gave me, and I was pretty excited about it. And I opened it up, and it was a bank logo on it, and I was like, oh man, I'm just not gonna wear that. It's not my thing. The timing matters, and talking about what they really want. So So anyway, he has a story, and I'm gonna give you a quick recap because and I'll send out the video afterwards. But I'm gonna let him kind of finish the story. But I'm gonna give a quick recap. So this guy joins. He has this gifting company. He used to sell cutlery knives. Was really successful with that. He joins EO, which is an entrepreneurs organization. Cost him 10 grand. He goes to this event in Vegas and meets a guy named Cameron. He has no idea who Cameron is, but Cameron is a guy who started basically a junk company and grew it to a $100 million empire, right? So Cameron's kind of a big deal. He goes, and Cameron's now like one of the biggest, most successful business coaches in the world. So he kind of learns quickly who this guy is, goes in, and says everything that came out of his mouth was like gold. It's like, I wanted to figure out how I can meet this guy, be mentored by him, whatever. So of course Cameron has a platform that you can do that, but it's like 10 grand a month. And so John's like, well, I don't have 10 grand a month, so I'm gonna figure out a way to do it. So John has this company, it's a corporate gifting company. So this is what they do for a living. So he's trying to figure out how to do it. So he goes and talks to him afterwards, and he's like, hey, I heard you're coming to Cleveland, which is where John lives, in a few months. Like, let's go to a Cavaliers game. I'll take you to dinner. And the guy's like, yeah, I guess. I don't have anything else going on the night before. John's like, oh man, he realized what he'd done. He did what every other person would do, which is just like dinner and a sports event. This guy's a, multi-millionaire, super successful person. He's probably had that happen to him hundreds of times, right? So John has now made not only like a no impression, but kind of a bad impression, right? But he still says that this guy's going to come, and so he has this idea. He calls his business partner, and his business partner shuts it down. I'll tell you the idea in a second, but so he goes. So 3 months go by. It's the night or the day that this guy Cameron is supposed to be coming in town, and so John gets the inevitable text like, "Hey, flight's running a little late. Not sure I'm gonna be able to make it." Now, meanwhile, like John's gotten these pretty close to the front row seats of the Cavaliers game, LeBron James, the whole trying to make it an experience. John's feeling kind of guilty. He's like, "Oh man, he's trying to weasel out. He's trying to get out." And he's like, "That's all right. If you can't, if you're late, we can still at least go to dinner." Trying to save it, and then so he. So anyway, he goes, but I take that back. So back up 3 months before, and so when he realizes that he's failing, he says, "Well, what else are you going to do when you're in Cleveland?" And Cameron's Canadian, and he says, "Well, the dollar's kind of weak, so I'm just going to do some shopping." He said, "Where do you like to shop?" He said, "Oh, I like Brooks Brothers. We don't have them in Canada or wherever he was." So John's like, "Boom, I got an idea." So this is the idea that he tells his business partner. He says, I have this crazy idea. I'm going to go to Brooks Brothers. And so he asked Cameron his size, kind of weirdly. It was an awkward moment. And he's like, "I'm going to merchandise his hotel room to make it look like Brooks Brothers store." And his business partner's like, "You're out of your mind. That's going to cost thousands and thousands of dollars. That's crazy." He's like, "I know, but it's going to make him feel good." And he wants to go shopping, so whatever. So his business partner shuts it down. So 3 months later, fast forward, everything's falling apart. He calls his business partner again. He's like, "Dude, I'm doing it. I hope this credit card works." He drives down to Brooks Brothers, tells the sales rep, he's like, "Here are the sizes. I want one of every single thing in your new fall collection." And this kid is like, "Really?" So he checks it out, takes him an hour to gather it all up. He goes to swipe the credit card. He's like, please work. So fast forward to here, and I'll let John tell the rest.
So I hang up. 3 months go by. The morning Cameron's going to be flying in. He's texting me, "John, my flight's late. I'm not sure if I'll make it in time." I'm like, son of a gun. He's trying to bail on this dinner and a ball game.
Is it too loud?
I'm like, "Cameron, even if you get late, we'll just go to dinner. Who cares about the game?" He's like, "Fine, good." So I call Rod back. I'm like, "We have to do this." And he's like, "John, I think it's the dumbest idea ever, but if you believe in it enough, it's going to come out of your draw if it doesn't work." I'm like, "Okay." Hang up, drive to Brooks Brothers. Put the Amex down, put the sizes down. Said, "I want one of everything in your new fall collection. All of your shirts, jackets, pants, sweaters, belts, you name it." Junior sales associate's like, "You're joking, right?" And with a deadpan face, sweat pouring down, I'm like, "I wish I was." I want it all. So it takes them an hour to gather everything up. They start ringing it. Gets to the end, and they go to swipe the Amex, and I'm like, "Please go through. Please go through." It was $7,000 in clothes. Then we go to the Ritz. I said, "You have one of the top business coaches in the entire world coming to town. You want to do something amazing. It's the Ritz." What do they say? Yes, sure, what are you thinking? I'm like, I want to merchandise the hotel room to look like a Brooks Brothers store. Sweaters there, jackets there, this, there. Like, no problem, she will. We merchandise it. I'm waiting down in the lobby, drinking. We dribble on the rocks. And my business partner's in my ear, he's like, you're a stalker, this is sweating. Cameron comes in, one of those travel days from hell, like, why did I ever agree to this stupid dinner and a ball game? He wants to go to bed. I'm like, Cameron, go take a shower. Come down whenever you're ready. He comes back down. 25 minutes later, he's glowing. I said, John, whatever you want to talk about, or as long as you want to talk about it, I'm all ears. I never had anybody treat me this way. He said, I've gone to Dubai, crazy place. I fly first class like this. The way you made me feel was incredible. And you fast forward over the last 10 years, I've been invited now to his wedding and to his 50th birthday party. He's done more for me than $10 million in advertising we do. President of Starbucks, doesn't matter the client, he opens the door. And oftentimes, like when I spoke at Google, people are like, John, like that's great, but $7,000 even for Google, they're like, that's a little pricey. I'm like, you don't understand the point. I'm like, here's the kicker. Cameron came back and he said, John, the way you made me feel with this act of gratitude was the gift, the personalization, all of these things, all the details that you put into it. I can't let you buy the clothes as well. I couldn't take all those clothes back in my luggage anyway. I picked out the clothes I wanted. Either the other ones, obviously, you arranged to go back. Either you're going to tell me how much they cost, I'm going to write a check for that, or I'm going to guess that I'm going to round up by 50%, I'm going to send you a check for that. It's like personalization. So that entire experience cost me nothing. Now, why did the experience work? First off, it was personalized. Oftentimes, people are like, you know what, does it really matter? I'm going to throw my logo on it. I'm going to send somebody a gift card. Like, the personalization mattered. Paul always personalized the gift. The other part of the story is after I did that gift, every quarter for the next 5 years, I sent him another gift, and all of those gifts were targeted at point number 2, which is the inner circle. They're all targeted towards a spouse, his assistant, his wife. That inner circle is where you get somebody. I spent this year, it'll be $350,000 on gifts. 80% of them are targeted at the person's inner circle. I get nice things all the time. You get nice things all the time. The decision makers you're going to show gratitude to get treated like gold all the time. Guess who gets the worst side of being in business? Their inner circle. So the reason we sent you a knife, we personalized it, we could to your family, is you are leaving them and coming here. They get the worst side of being in business. So when we acknowledge the person's inner circle with gratitude at a super high level, all of a sudden we had people literally like pushing their spouses out of the house saying, you can go to that conference anytime you want, as long as I'm getting gifts like this, I'm all in. Because they've never been acknowledged that way. The third thing is timing. Dan talked about this. Imagine if the gift had been given on site versus, like I handed them the gift versus, surprising and have it all merchandise. Imagine if you'd gotten the gift as part of like a grab bag. Like the timing of the gift matters. We all want to be surprised and delighted. The surprise and delight element is what works and makes somebody feel. Even a billionaire, when we give them the right gift in the right way, they oftentimes cry. They're like, nobody's ever thought about the timing and the little details. The fourth thing, what's the most I can do? Oftentimes, we ask ourselves, what's the least we can get away with? In the Cameron example, why didn't you just do a gift card, John? Why didn't you just pick out 3 shirts? I said, what's the most I can do? I can buy the whole freaking store. And when you do that for people, it doesn't have to be $7,000, but when you go all in to show gratitude to somebody, and you say, I can get away with this, but I'm going to go here, all of a sudden the other person says, wow, I've never had anybody be that vulnerable and go that all in on me, even when I'm already a client. People feel that. I don't care who they employ, the client, whatever else. I know there's a guy here that I think, is it Hunter Hunt, that gave $100,000 to all of his employees if they had a goal. I'm sure he could have gotten away with 50 grand. But he said, what's the most I can do? I'm going to go with 100 grand. What's the most I can do? Paul did that in every scenario. Buy a whole semi-load, didn't matter. The fifth one, what would they really want? Did Cameron really want another dinner and a round of golf or ball game tickets? No. He wanted to go to sleep. He also wanted to go shopping at Brooks Brothers. I made the Brooks Brothers happen. Your clients and employees are the same way. They don't want necessarily another steak dinner out or another trip away. Oftentimes they want more time with their family. What would they really want? So for our employees, one of the things that we do, and I'm going to wrap up with this, is we said, what would our employees, all of our employees are spread out across the country, they're working moms. We said they would never do this for themselves, even if we gave them the cash. We started to pay to have their houses cleaned every other week. Automatically, they don't even have a choice. They either take it or leave it, they don't get the cash. When I spoke at Google, I had a couple employees pull me aside and say, John, are you hiring? Swear. Like, they do everything for us at Google. They don't do anything for us at our home. They don't make our quality of life better at home. They want us to work 24/7 at the place, which is fine, smart. But we said, what would the employee really want? And oftentimes, taking care of their family, they would never spend it on themselves. But you can start to put yourself in the other person's shoes and say, what would they really want? And do that, not make it about you, your logo, your brand, how cool you are, you make it all about them. Your relationships flourish. I wanted to dive in a little bit more, but it combining 2 hours down to 10 minutes is very difficult. If you guys want the other 10, I'm happy to email you the entire book, PDF.
All right, so this was he worked for Cutco. He had a great story, and I'm not going to get into it, but you should read the book. It started out by writing a note to somebody, sending him with this knife, and saying, please carve out 5 minutes for me. And it turned into this sort of mind-blowing opportunity. Take a look at that. I'll send out the link to that video and the full thing so you can watch it. But Hunter, you got anything on this front? Floors downstairs? Woo! Wow. Yep, some new floors downstairs. All right, so some people like this was feedback too. Some people liked it coming soon, some people didn't. So we'll go through them quickly. But
You don't like them?
I like you leave. So,
Amy, are you on there?
Pete, is Amy here? Pete's getting his ACL fixed today. So, 219 Orlando, new construction, single family, or 201 Orlando, sorry, $499. Coming January 2nd. Talk to Pete and Amy about that. Wendy, you got a couple?
Yeah, I have one right next to Radnor Lake. If you have problems parking when you go to Radnor Lake, you should buy this house. You seriously can walk right down the street to it. It's getting a little freshened up right now, and will be on the market probably beginning of February, maybe late January. And then I have one in Old Hickory, which is not really my target or demographics. If anybody knows anything about Old Hickory that they want to school me on, please feel free to catch me after. But it has a totally separate in-law apartment, which is pretty unique. They built the house specifically for that. So if you have somebody who's looking for having an Asian parent, maybe move in with them and they want their own space, this is the house to buy, and it's not big.
Cool. Zach?
All right, so we've got, let's see here. 141 Lincoln Court, it looks like. 4 beds, 3.5 baths. 2749 square feet. Crystal's the expert on this. She put all this in. Thanks, Crystal. Belmead Link, or Belmead, it's actually the Belmead Courts, close to Belmead Links. Built in 2012.
What's the difference between the courts?
There's the Courts, the Links, and the Highlands. I'll tell you later.
There's not. Yeah.
It's across from Parker Park, 10 foot ceiling down, 9 up, energy efficient, open floor, plan master down. So anyway, really cool house. It's probably in the 700s. I'm not sure exactly where, but that'll be discussing and talking to them here shortly. Discussing it here. Is he out walking the dog? Anybody else who's got it coming soon? Broker opens.
Everybody, 325-2224 Blair. If you're out and about in the snow, please come by. Just check it out.
Is that today?
Yeah, today, 3.
You know where that is? It's just like you can walk there.
Yeah.
Right around the corner.
So the address is
2224.
2224.
Blair.
So 3 2s and a 4. And then so afterwards, so we got afterwards, Bill from Metro Codes is going to start here in about 15 minutes or so. And so stick around for that. Don't forget about the holiday party, Thursday, December 19th. So that's next Thursday from 6 to 10 in Winford, Houston. And then just real quick, takeaways. What were your most valuable takeaways today?
Giftology.
Giftology, right? Don't make it about you, make it about them. It's about how they feel. Timing is important. Timing is really important. He talks about that a lot in the book. One of the things he talks about is not giving gifts over the holidays because they get inundated and sort of lost in the shuffle with other gifts. But you give them at kind of random times. Maybe if you're doing it around certain holidays, it's not around these holidays, but around Valentine's Day or something to do with their particular schedule. If you're giving a CPA a gift maybe don't give it to them on April 10th, because it's probably not going to be paying attention to it at all, right? Do it after tax season or something like that, right? What else?
I was
No?
gonna say, definitely use forewarn if you don't use it. I got a call like months ago from somebody random, and I looked up their background and super violent criminal history. So I referred the person to a mail agent, and then he would never get with a mail agent. So I'm just saying, like, I'm super against that. That's happened.
Gotcha. So we got a couple of people, creepy phone calls. You've looked them up before. Great job for using that. That's awesome. That's super smart. So use forewarn. What else? Takeaways?
Good to let your sellers know that there may not be a bidding war right now.
There may not be a bidding war right now. Bidding wars are slowing down. I don't know how that tracks, but I'm sure it's probably some sort of survey done. But that's good. So, all right, stick around for Metro Codes, and if y'all have any questions, come talk to me afterwards. But thanks for coming. Thanks for braving the sleet.
Deal, good. Hey. Start something. Yeah. Did clients find anything yet they were interested in when they went to the house?
We found one in Bellevue